Hello, my name is Michael Holdcroft. Today I would like to introduce you to an investment opportunity in an ecological project which offers an excellent return on investment over 3 to 5 years. Let me explain what it's all about and how you can profit from this excellent opportunity. Just recently, during an interview, Dan Brown, author of the Da Vinci Code, said the following: "If you know somebody who is 85 years old, that person was born into a world that had a third as many people as the world does today. The population has tripled in the past 85 years. That sounds hard to believe, but it's true. At this time, there are about 7 billion people on planet Earth, and it's projected that up to 10 billion people will inhabit Earth by 2050 and up to 16 billion or more by the turn of the century. Even today, many parts of the world are in extreme stress because there is just not enough land and water to support the population. So we can hardly imagine what the world is going to look like in 87 years. The population explosion began around 1800 at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. At this time, mankind began exploiting fossil fuels such as coal and oil, releasing untold millions of tons of CO2 into the atmosphere until the present day. This has initiated a change in climate of such a speed which has never before been experienced in the whole of Earth's history. And, as you can imagine, this is increasing stress on agricultural land and supplies of water even further. Of course, we could do something about the population and also stop producing CO2, but even if we did and could do it radically enough, due to the latency of weather change, the improvements would first start showing up in 50 years or more. Doing things to change the world in the future is obviously necessary, but more to the point, we need solutions which can make a difference today. For instance, saving arable land and developing new agricultural areas are just the beginning. Water has to be made available for every man, woman and child at costs which are at an absolute minimum. And cheap energy is needed without further plundering the carbon sinks such as coal and oil bonded over millions of years. Envirocreate Australia is a partnership of 3 companies: Refertil, SCJ Water and NextGen Wind. The partnership will be setting up a plant in Australia to produce natural phosphate, animal bone biochar, an organic fertilizer, and bioenergy recycled from food-grade animal bone material. They will be integrating a low-energy, low-cost water purification system to treat any wastewater or any source, including seawater, to make it potable again. And to power it all, new generation wind power turbines will be used, which will provide electricity at a price cheaper than present wind power solutions, or even cheaper than electricity generated through coal, natural gas and atomic power. So what is the Envirocreate project all about? Well, you see, Australia is an ideal location to show how these 3 technologies can make a change to the environment and life in places which are not very fertile or have water in abundance. Let me quote Jared Diamond from his book Collapse. "Australia is the most unproductive continent, the one whose soils have on the average the lowest nutrient levels, the lowest plant growth rates and the lowest productivity." In this book he explains why farming in Australia has never been very successful and why most of the people who tried went broke and abandoned the land within a few years. The soil only supports a minimal vegetation, and clearing the land for agriculture basically removes any nutrients the soil has. As a result, the land is very quickly exhausted and can only produce crops for a very short time. Meaning that to make a success out of farming in Australia, you have to fertilize the soil, and this becomes rapidly expensive and makes it hard to compete with competition overseas. The second problem is the lack of water. The further away you are from the coast, the less amount of rain the land receives. This means that only the coastal regions are able to support agriculture to any level. Alternatively, available water from any rivers has to be used to irrigate the land. As you can imagine, Australia is a country which is extremely interested in not only improving soil fertility but also making more water available for consumption. As a direct result of this, the Australian government has offered a startup grant of 5 million Australian dollars under the Carbon Farming Initiative for the production of biochar. Envirocreate will build a pyrolysis plant which will essentially create high-quality biochar out of animal bone material. Unlike normal biochar made out of plant material, the biochar manufactured out of animal bone is high in phosphates, which makes it an ideal addition to soils, as it not only binds nutrients and water on the long term, but also releases the phosphate to enhance plant growth. The plant will start producing biochar within 6 to 9 months, and as such, the plant will start to generate revenues within 1 year. The second potential income stream is due to the fact that biochar production will reduce atmospheric CO2 and, as a result, Envirocreate will earn carbon credits which are bankable and traded on the international market. Carbon credit revenues are expected to exceed 100 million Australian dollars in 3 to 5 years. Just recently I spoke to Edward Someyas. He's the developer of the pyrolysis system which produces the biochar. This is what he had to say about phosphates in modern agriculture.
Phosphorus is an essential building block of life. It is an irreplaceable part of modern agriculture as there is no substitute for its use in animal feed and fertilizer for food and any energy crop production. On our planet Earth, only the apatite mineral formation containing high concentration of phosphorus, that is having two forms, mineral rock phosphate and animal bone. The mineral rock phosphate is non-renewable resource and it's mined. The European Union is almost fully dependent on imports of phosphate rock from sub-Saharan Morocco that is unfortunately contaminated with heavy metals such as cadmium and uranium, which are through the soil built into the plant and food crops. In this context, through the food chain, the mineral rock phosphate is responsible for more than 80% of the human intake for cadmium and uranium heavy metals. The animal bone char is a renewable biomass produced from pure and food-grade animal bone. Bone char is also apatite mineral-based, containing high 30% of phosphate, but its biomaterial is pure and fully safe.
During the biochar manufacturing process, a lot of water is extracted out of the raw materials. This can be 30% or more when processing brown coal, for example. Now, the water is not potable, and as such it would normally be disposed of, which I am sure you will agree with is an incredible waste of resources. As already mentioned, Australia is a dry continent and water is at a premium there. This is why it was decided to integrate the SCJ low-energy water purification technology. The wastewater can then be purified and made available for consumption, reducing waste and cost dramatically. The SCJ system will start earning revenue during the second year, when the commercial version is ready. It is expected that the SCJ system will generate 8 million Australian dollars in the second, 59 million in the third, and 180 million Australian dollars in the fourth year. As the technology can be used to process seawater and can be scaled very easily, this prognosis, which is based on sales of smaller units, can be overtaken very quickly. I spoke to Stephen Jenner of SCJ Water about his goals on producing drinkable water. This is what he had to say.
The water price at the moment is extremely high. There is competition between reverse osmosis systems and thermal activity systems. With my system, with the SCJ water and the Lesford system, we are looking at a huge reduction in price in a minimum of around about 3 to 7 cents compared to $14 to $40 as it is right now in manufacturing of water. So In the future, if this goes down this route, which is what we're aiming to do, we will see a success in helping individuals around the world receiving water at a correct price that is affordable and actually keeps these wars and conflicts at bay.
He also said that water is fast becoming a source of conflict. Listen to what he has to say about this problem.
Okay, the water purifications in the future is going to be a dramatic requirement in the future. It's not going to be something that's going to be like a standard requirement that we receive today, because there are water systems available to this day. But what's going to happen is getting clean, drinkable water for the populations of countries within the future is going to be absolutely vital. I think in 20 years there will be such a situation where there will be not enough water for everyone to go round, and therefore I think conflicts will occur, and therefore that could be a situation where wars could break out because of water. With our system, there is a solution for where a drought or dry or desert conditions are available. We can produce pure drinkable water for those people in those areas.
The whole idea of the Envirocreate project is to produce valuable and ecologically sound products which can be used to make significant changes to commercial agriculture, such as biochar and water. A further goal is to run the production with a zero carbon footprint. To meet the pyrolysis and water purification energy needs, NextGen Wind will provide new generation wind turbines and hydro plants, reducing the need for external energy sources to practically zero. NextGen Wind has developed a unique wind turbine using proven technology adapted from the aeronautical and marine industries and has been extensively tested over a long period. The NextGen Wind turbine is a two-bladed downwind machine with independently hinged blades. This configuration reduces the forces and stresses that the current three-blade upwind machines suffer from. Therefore, the NextGen Wind turbines are cheaper to manufacture and have low installation costs, as the turbines do not need a footing anchor or massive foundation. This means the electricity generated from the turbine has a cost factor almost equal to that of conventional fossil or atomic fuel generated energy. The new Gen wind power turbines will also start generating revenues in the second year, which are expected to bring in up to 500 million Australian dollars in the first 5 years. Surplus energy would be fed to the national grid, creating further revenue. Here's Heinz Stahl from NextGen Wind talking about the advantages that his wind turbines have to offer. Listen closely to what he has to say.
Michael, our turbine, when I first got into the wind industry approximately 15 years ago, we had a look at the technology which was being used, and when you trace it back, the basic technology dates back 40 or 50 years, so nothing has really developed or changed technically as far as extracting energy from the wind. What we did, we looked at the structures of the current turbines, and we saw the forces which were induced onto the rotor blades, and then transferred into the gearbox, into the generator, into the tower. It needed such huge infrastructure to support that particular type of technology. So my partner and I, we looked at the other industries around the world, which basically relied on the same sort of principles as the wind turbine does, and we looked at the helicopter industry, and we thought, wow, the helicopter industry, independently hinged blades. If we turn our turbine around and have the blades behind the tower, what that means is that we can reduce the infrastructure required to support the generation units up top of the tower. We can lighten everything off, and also we can save a lot of energy by having our turbines downwind, which means they seek the wind every second of its operation. Whereas in the current technology, the current commercial technology, there's normally a delay of about 10 minutes before the turbines start to turn, and they use the electrical energy which is generated to actually turn the turbine into the wind. So we thought that the way that we looked at the technology, this works. It's worked in the industry for the last 40, 50 years. So we've applied it to ours. We actually built two prototypes. One was a 250 kilowatt proof of concept machine, worked very well, ran for over 2,000 hours, and then we upgraded that to a 750 kilowatt machine, and that also operated very well. So we have the technology now, which basically operates on a downwind machine. We only used 2 blades instead of 3. We did the calculations and the computer modeling, and we found that we lost about 5% of the energy by taking one of the blades away, but we saved something like about $300,000 or $400,000 in cost. And so our turbine is lower cost, it's higher efficiency, and it requires less whole of life operation and maintenance costs.
The synergy effect of all 3 technologies working together will achieve several different goals. Number 1, the production of high-grade biochar, which offers natural organic fertilizer and soil improvement. Number 2, the retrieval of potable water for irrigation and drinking purposes. Number 3, enable production with zero carbon footprint with the utilization and binding of atmospheric CO2. Number 4, reduce the dependency of external power supplies to an absolute minimum. 5. Supply huge markets which are suffering from supply problems and contamination issues with potable water. 6. To commercialize highly efficient and proven wind turbines. And 7. To create revenues out of several different sources. So, what's in it for you? You can expect a return of investment of 200 to 300% within 5 years, and a generous equity stake within the business. Due to the huge potential of the various markets, we anticipate an exponential growth rate after 4 to 5 years. Envirocreate Australia requires a 40 million Australian dollar investment and offers in return 40% equity within this lucrative and highly potential organization. To start building the pyrolysis plant, an initial investment of 12 million Australian dollars is needed. Additionally, the project is expecting a 5 million Australian dollar grant from the Australian government under the Carbon Farming Initiative. Not forgetting, revenues of 100 million Australian dollars and more are expected through marketing carbon credits. The initial investment here is insured to 100% by a large multinational insurance group. For the low-cost, low-energy purification system, 8 million Australian dollars is required for the prototype. A 2 million Australian dollar grant is also available. This will be built within the first year and will be ready for the market by year 2. Once on the market, a North American company is interested in investing 50 million US dollars to develop the American market. There is already a very high level of interest for this technology from water utilities and energy providers the world over. We expect the revenues of well over 1 billion Australian dollars after 5 to 7 years. Next-gen wind requires 20 million Australian dollars to get the turbines ready for market. Testing has been successfully completed and the turbines are now ready for commercialization. Revenues expected from both OEM and retrofit markets are expected to grow 300 to 500 million Australian dollars within 5 years. As you can see, the Envirocreate project offers an excellent and rewarding future, not only for the partners, but also for you as an investor. It offers the promise of ecological change, which is something that our planet desperately needs when facing the future. So, do you think this is something you would like to be involved with? If your answer is yes, then please call one of the partners for further information. They will provide you with the business plan and also answer any questions that you may have. I am sure it's a call that you will be glad you made. Thank you for your time. My name is Michael Holcroft, talking for Envirocreate Australia.